Welcome to part 7 of Enclosed in a Womb. I was speaking about Paul, who says that he uh, Paul is worried and in his heart that somehow that as Shaitan deceived Chawwa, all right, so also we might be deceived by the simplicity that is in Mashiach. And we were reading Psalms chapter 8 verses 3 where 3 to 5 where it says, when I consider the heavens, the work of your fingers, the moon and the stars which you have ordained, what is man that you take thought of him, and the son of man that you care for him? Yet you have made him little lower than Elohim, and you crown him with glory and majesty. Now this is spoken about Mashiach. So the writer of Hebrews, which is Paul, he's showing that Dawood prophetically spoke in Psalms 8 of the world to come, where all things are made subject to us through Yahusha, and because right now we are in the womb of suffering, and only Yahusha can draw us out of this present womb, which has life, which is temporary and enclosed with vanity. So we have come as creatures of vanity, as we read in Romans chapter 8 verses 20. For the creature was subject to vanity, not willingly, but by the reason of him who was subjected the same in hope. So the one who subjected us in hope is Mashiach, because he took the path, that is the ruck, the travel into the womb, the the warmth of the womb, and he delivers us out of that. Alright, so Yahusha became part of this womb. He came by water and blood to rescue us from it. Okay, let's read a few scriptures. Hebrews chapter 2 verses 5 to 9. For to angels he did not put in subjection the world to come, concerning which we speak. Now if you see the context of what Paul is writing over here, he's talking about the world to come. Alright, so in this same chapter he talks about Mashiach being made little lower than Elohim. Alright, the Greek uses the word angelos, but if you see in Psalms chapter 8, the word there made little lower than Elohim. It's Elohim there, Elohim. Okay, so we need to follow that translation. If you see the Abari translation in Hebrews, it uses the same word Elohim, which is for the Almighty. Okay, so I'll read out Hebrews chapter 2 verses 5 to 9. It says, for to angels he did not put in subjection the world to come, concerning which we speak. But one in a certain place testified, saying, what is man that you remember him, or the son of man that you are concerned about him? You made him a little lower than Elohim. You crowned him with glory and honor, and have appointed him over the works of your hands. You have put all things in subjection under his feet. For in subjection under him, he left nothing that is not under him. But now we do not yet see all things under him, but we do see him who was made for a little lower than Elohim, namely Yahusha, because of the suffering of death, crowned with glory and honor, so that by the grace of Elohim he might taste death for everyone. Alright, so Paul is talking about the age to come, the world to come. So in that context, he says about everything put under subjection under man. So that takes us back to Genesis chapter 1, where Elohim says that let us make man in our own image and after our likeness, and let them have dominion over the fish of the sea, over the birds of the air, over every living creature of the earth. So that prophecy is in the age to come, because that clearly shows that right now man, we as the natural, we are in the image of Adam, who is the earthy. Alright, the heavenly man Mashiach is the image of Elohim. Colossians 1:15 says that he is the image of the invisible Elohim, the firstborn over all creation, and we are conformed to that image. So when Elohim said, let us make man in our own image and after our likeness, that does not mean that Adam was created perfectly into the image of Elohim. He was the type of him who was to come. We'll see that little later in Romans chapter 5 verses 14, which says that nevertheless death reigned from Adam to Masha, even over those who did not sin according to the likeness of Adam, but who was the type of him who was to come. So Adam was a type of Mashiach who was to come. One is the earthy and one is the heavenly. So the earthly makes way for the heavenly, the natural makes way for the spiritual. So that's the pattern. Alright? And when you read this promise that Elohim made to Abraham was not to many seeds, but that one seed, that is Mashiach. Alright, that was the promised one. When we read in Galatians, it says that that the seed is Mashiach. And let's see the promise in Genesis chapter 18 verses 9 and 10. And they said to him, now they said to him are the angels who had come down to destroy Sodom and Gomorrah. They are on their way to destroy Sodom and Gomorrah, and they meet Abraham. They pass Abraham, and out of that one angel, all right, he, Yahuwah, Ruach is in him, and as we have seen in Psalms chapter 18, Yahuwah is invisible, so he used the angels and spoke as though he, the angel itself is Yahuwah in a form. Okay, and they said to him, "Where is Sarah, your wife?" And he said, "See, in the tent." And he said, "I shall return to you according to the time of life. And see, Sarah, your wife, is to have a son." And Sarah was listening in the tent door which was behind him. Now, when you read in the English translation, it says that, and they said, "Where is Sarah, your wife?" And he said, "See, in the tent." And he said, "I shall certainly return to you according to the time of life." Now, they have translated the word Shub, which is Strong's H7725. Alright, Strong's H7725, which is, alright, Shub. Shub means turn. Right? And we saw that this same word is rooted in Shabbat, where the Shab means turn and Bath means daughter. The daughter is turning towards Yahuwah. Alright? And Bath is also the tent. So you're turning to the tent of Yahuwah, the true pattern. Okay, so that's the meaning of Shabbat. So this word Shub is used twice in that verse, and it should be correctly translated. Instead of certainly, it should be said, and he said, "I shall return to you according to the time of life." So the word return there is Ashub. Again the same, H7725. They have only added an aleph before it. Ashub. So Ashub means return. Alright. So Yahuwah is saying that I am on my way. Alright. In the time of life, in the cycle of life, I will turn and return that to you. So this promise goes to the Garden of Eden, because the mother of all living, Chahua, because the next word that we will look into this verse is the word time of life. Alright? The word time is at, which is H6256. H6256, it is at. Alright? This is the I, A, and this is the Tau. So the Tau is like a cross, the stake. So see the stake. So it's like looking towards the cross or the stake where Mashiach is. So and the word H2416 is Chaya, for life. H2416. 2416. Alright, which is Chaya. We have discussed this word before. Chaya means living or life. And Adam named Chahua as mother of all life or living. Let's continue in the next part. Welcome to part 8 of Enclosed in a Womb. I was talking about Yahuwah returning back to according to the time of life. Alright, the word Shub is H7725 is repeated twice over there consecutively. It says, "I will turn and return." Alright, to Sarah according to the time of life. Now, what does that mean? Because Yahuwah's Dabar is very deep, and he's showing us here that he would turn and return according to the time of life. Because this was what was promised to Eve, that the seed of the woman would crush the serpent's head, and Sarah will have a son. And from her womb, as Galatians, Paul says that, "Beloved, we as Isaac," that is Isaac, "are the children of promise." So we are the children of promise. In Mashiach, the seed accounted for and promised was Mashiach. So Mashiach and us in Mashiach. And here Sarah's womb was dead because she was past her menopause, and she was no longer in the menstruational cycle looking forward towards the purification as a woman would look up to Yahuwah. Now there was no hope left that she will never conceive again according to the natural realm. And that's the beauty of the word Batan. Alright, so I've listed the word Batan here. I will take you through this little later on, so don't wonder why I have just listed this. For lack of time, to save time, I have made this diagram, which I will explain little later when we see the exposition on Hebrews 9:23 in relation to this. Alright, so I have listed the word Batan. This is the Bet, Tet and the Nun. Alright, now see the beauty. Bet is like the body of the woman is a house, tent. Alright, Tet is the vessel, the womb, and in that womb is the Nun, the seed which comes out, that is Mashiach. He came out of that barren womb, giving the promise, delivering the woman, delivering mankind, alright, who believes in him out of the deadness of that womb, alright, which was without hope. The creature of vanity, alright, is springing up with life. So see the beautiful picture. And if you see here, Bat means desolate. Bet and Tet form the word desolate, Bat. And Tet and Nun, they form the word basket. So the desolate basket or vessel. Tan is a basket or a vessel weaved. Alright, so like in Psalms 139, the psalmist, he cries out to Yahuwah that you wove me in my mother's womb. You saw my unformed substance. Alright, so that is the picture over here. The desolation of the womb. Alright, and from this comes the Ban. The root word in Batan is Ban, which means the sun. Alright, and that was what was prophesied. Nab. Nab means prophesy. So Yahuwah is prophesying through his word and showing us a beautiful picture of the creature of vanity, and this fell exactly into his plan. That's the reason when you read Genesis chapter 1, when Yahuwah Elohim made everything, he saw that everything was good. And that's the opposite of Bat, that is desolate, is Tub, which is good. Opposite of Tan is there is Nab, and Nab is also rooted in this. So Nab means prophecy. Alright, so it was prophesied, and everything that Yahuwah Elohim made, he saw that it was good. So opposite of Bat is Tub. Alright, he saw everything that he made and it was good. So we'll see that in detail later on. So let's continue with what we were talking about Batan. Alright, I'll read out a few scriptures. Galatians chapter 3 verses 16 onwards. Now the promises were spoken to Abraham and to his seed. He does not say and to seeds as of many, but as to one, and to your seed, that is Mashiach. But the Jerusalem above is free. She is the mother of us all. For it is written, rejoice you barren that does not bear. Break forth and shout, you that does not travail. For the desolate has many more children than she which has a husband. Now we brethren, like Isaac, are children of promise. Galatians 4:28. So I read out Galatians 3:16 and I read out to you Galatians 4 verses 26 to 28. Alright, so the barren womb will spring forth, and Mashiach is the only hope that brings out of barrenness, that mashas us out of the deep waters. Alright, the waters of the time of life which ends with death in the grave. So we begin with life and we end in the grave. But those who believe in Mashiach will continue into everlasting life, because he gives you immortality. Alright, he has overcome the grave. We have already read this, Malachi chapter 4 verses 2, but unto you that fear my name shall the Son, that is Shamash of righteousness, arise with healing in his wings, and he shall go forth and grow up as calves of the stall. Okay, let's read further down. And Romans chapter 8 verses 19, for the earnest expectation of the creature waiteth for the manifestation of the sons of Elohim. verses 20, for the creature was made subject to vanity, not willingly, but by the reason of him who subjected the same in hope. Verse 22 and 23, for we know that the whole creation groans and travails in pain together until now, and not only they, but ourselves also, which have the first fruits of the Spirit, even we ourselves groan within ourselves, waiting for the adoption, to wit, the redemption of our body. Alright, so finally, like, when you see Revelation chapter 12, you see that woman, which I was speaking about, traveling in birth pangs, waiting to deliver the man child, and the man child will save the woman in childbearing, as Paul says in where we saw in the previous parts about in Mother of All Living. Sorry. All right. So now coming back to this diagram, you must be wondering why I have listed this on the board. All right. So I need to extend this because now is rooted in this. Now this prophecy. Okay. Sorry, there is no place on the board. Okay, now let's read Hebrews chapter 9 verses 23. Alright, it says in Hebrews chapter 9 verses 23, I'll read out from the ISR 98, sorry. What am I saying? Hebrews chapter 9 and verse 23. It was necessary then that the copies of the heavenly ones should be cleansed with these, but the heavenly ones themselves with better slaughter offerings than these. Now when I was reading this verse, it did not make any sense to me. But when I saw it in the context of Torah, alright, if you read the previous verse, alright, verses, it talks about the blood of the covenant, which Elohim commanded, alright, and verse 21 onwards it says, and in the same way he sprinkled with the blood both the tent and the vessels of service. Verse 22, and according to the Torah, almost all is cleansed with blood, and without shedding of blood there is no forgiveness. And then we come to this verse which says, it was necessary then that the copies of the heavenly ones should be cleansed with these, but the heavenly ones themselves with better slaughter offerings than these. So this did not make any sense to me in the English language, because it was just like a bouncer. It went over my head. But when I looked at the Hebrew words, I saw something amazing in it, which I have listed in a study also, which is on my blog, on exposition of Hebrews chapter 9 verses 23. And this is in relation to what we were talking about, the Batan. Alright, where Bat means desolate and Tan is the basket which is woven, and the Batan means womb. And in that womb is the Ban, alright, who was prophesied to come, who would break the cycle of desolation. Let's continue in the next part. Welcome to part 9 of Enclosed in a Womb. Alright, we were looking at Hebrews chapter 9 verses 23, which in the English semantics does not make any sense. And I read out the verse, it was necessary then that the copies of the heavenly ones should be cleansed with these, but the heavenly ones themselves with better slaughter offerings than these. Alright, now you will be surprised to see that the word it was, alright, they have translated dam yunai, this is the word, dalit, men, yod, uav, men and yod, alright. So dam yunai, they have translated as it was in English. This does not make sense at all. This is a complete mistranslation of this word. You can look up this word, alright, in the Aleppic Codex, alright, it's a Hebrew translation, and when you copy that word and search for it in Morphic's dictionary or any other dictionary, the translation from Hebrew to English comes as imaginary, alright. Now the word imaginary again would be an injustice, doing injustice to that word and to that text, because the word imaginary comes from the word image, the image that one perceives or forms in his mind, alright, of something, whether it be a fantasy or whether it be a reality. So he is imagining about looking at the physical, and he's thinking about something related to that physical thing. All right, so that is the word meaning of imaginary. But when I drill down this word to find out what this word means, you'll be amazed to see I've listed down all the root words in this word dam unai. All right, so I'll read out one by one. Dam, H1818 means blood. All right, damai, H1824 means rest or quietness. Mun means likeness. I did not find the Strong's word, but I have looked up in AHLB. Mun means likeness. All right, Mayan, H4327, kind of. And the same word, when you look up this word, it says about the word which we were talking about. I think let me see, H4484. All right, H4484 man means kind of. All right, H4478 man means manna. Okay, Yuna, H3123 means dove, and Yan from Yayan, which means wine. Now all these elements, they are physical elements according to the Torah for purification. You see, each and every one without sacrifice of blood. That's what we were reading in Hebrews chapter 9. I'll read out again the context in which this where Paul speaks about. He says that and this is the blood of the covenant which Elohim commanded you. That is verse 20. And in the same way he sprinkled with blood both the tent and all the vessels of the service. Verse 22. And according to the Torah, almost all is cleansed with blood, and without shedding of blood there is no forgiveness. So obviously Paul is talking about the purification of almost everything according to the Torah. So according to the Torah, dove was a sacrifice. 2 pair of turtle doves or 2 pigeons. Alright, Yuna, the word Yuna means dove. Manna, there was manna kept in the Ark of the Covenant, in the pot. Alright, Mayan, Mayan is a kind of. So whatever they did, it was a kind of, a sacrifice pleasing unto Yahuwah according to the pattern, kind of. Okay, Mun, likeness. So it was in the likeness of the spiritual. Damai, rest, the promise of the rest. Alright, which if you obey my Torah, you will have life. And if you disobey my Torah, you will have death. So choose this day between life and death, it says. Okay? And dam is blood. Without shedding of blood, there is no remission of sins. Okay, so such a beautiful drill down of this word, dam unai, where Paul deliberately uses this word for us to understand that these are both the physical and the spiritual elements, all right, of the Torah relating to man's purification and sanctification. A similar word, all right, damut, is damut for likeness, H1823, all right, damut, H1823. 823. Right? Damut is written as Dam, which is blood. This is blood. And Mut means death. I'm sorry, there's no place. So the similar word for Mun, which is likeness, is Damut, which means likeness. It's translated as likeness, and Damut has both the words dam, which means blood, and death, which means mut, which means death. All right. If you read in Genesis chapter 1 verses 26, Elohim said, "Let us make man in our own image." All right. And the word for image there is salam, which is H6754. According to our likeness, Damut, which is H1823. And let them rule over the fish of the sea, and over the birds of the heaven, and over the livestock, and over all the earth, and over all creeping things that creep on the earth. Now, remember, just a couple of episode back in the previous part, I spoke about Psalms chapter 8 verses 3 to 7, which was in the context where Paul talks in Hebrews chapter 2 of the world to come. So it's speaking about the world to come. So when Elohim is saying that let us make man in our image according to our likeness, and then he says that let us give them dominion over the fish of the sea, over the birds of the heaven, over the livestock. So it is in the world to come. Alright? There is no such promise in this world. Okay, it's in the world to come. That's, you need to compare spiritual things with spiritual to understand these things. I'll read out Hebrews chapter 2 verses 6 to 8 once again for you. It says, but somewhere one has witnessed saying, what is man that you remember him, or the son of man that you look after him? You have made him a little lower than the messengers. You have crowned him with esteem and respect, and set him over the works of your hands. However, you have put all in subjection under his feet, for in that he put all in subjection under him, he left none that is not subjected to him. But now we do not yet see all subjected to him. Alright? So we do not yet see all subjected to him. The last enemy to be destroyed is death. Alright? And when everything is put subdued to Yahusha, it's put subdued to us. That's the time when he will come and deliver the kingdom to Yasharel. Alright, the spiritual kingdom where he rules, and we will rule with him forever. Verse 9, but we do see Yahusha, who was made for a little while lower than Elohim because of the suffering of death, crowned with esteem and respect, and by the favor of Elohim he should taste death for everyone. So Yahusha took the path of being part of his creation in the blood and water, which is Dam. Alright, in the rest which he promises, which is Damai. Alright, in the likeness that he took, the kind of, alright, the heavenly man, the earthly man shadowed the heavenly man. Okay, so that's the word mun. Manna, he is the spiritual manna, the food that came down from heaven, the bread which came down from heaven. Mayan, the kind of, he is the kind of, the pattern of the earthly. Okay, Yuna, he is the ruach, the dove. I'll speak to you about this little later when we see the baptism of Yahusha when he was immersed in the water. Alright, that there was a dove which came down from heaven. I'll speak to you about this in a couple of minutes. Alright, man was confirmed to be transformed into this image and likeness by being sanctified and purified in Mashiach. Let's continue in the next. Welcome to part 10 of Enclosed in a Womb. I was speaking about man was conformed to be transformed into the image and likeness by being sanctified and purified in Mashiach. Alright, Hebrews chapter 2 verses 11, which we have read before, but I'll read it out again for the benefit, so as to for everyone to know that it is all related to Mashiach coming out of the womb and being the hope of deliverance for us from the womb of suffering. Hebrews chapter 2 verses 11, for both he who sets apart and those who are being set apart are all of one, for which reason he is not ashamed to call them brothers. Alright, we read, remember in Psalms chapter 110 verses 3, your people, alright, shall be an offering, Nadaba, remember the word Nadaba, which means offering, in the day of your power. So your people shall be an offering in the day of your power. So the picture is of we in Mashiach ascending to New Jerusalem. Without him we stand no ground. Alright, so by this will we have been sanctified through the offering of the body of Mashiach Yahusha once for all. Hebrews chapter 10 verses 10. I'll read it out again. By this will we have been sanctified through the offering of the body of Mashiach Yahusha once for all. So though Adam naturally was the first man, and he's the earthy, alright, who came out first, and the natural makes way for the spiritual, alright, but if you see in the perspective of Elohim, alright, Mashiach is the first and the last, though he is called the last Adam in 1 Corinthians chapter 15 verses 45, where it says that the first man became a living soul, right, and the first Adam became a living soul, and the last Adam became a life-giving spirit. So he became a life-giving spirit. So he is the life-giving spirit. So he's the first and the last, the firstborn over all creation. Colossians chapter 1 verses 15. He's the firstborn over all creation. Right? So Adam was only a shadow and a type of him who was to come. Okay? So everything was made through Mashiach. So, and for him, he is before all things, and by him all things consist. That's what the scripture says. Alright, Romans chapter 5 verses 14. But death reigned from Adam until Masha, even over those who had not sinned, according to the likeness of the transgression of Adam, who is the type of him who was to come. Alright, now let's go back to Genesis chapter 1 verses 26. We saw in comparison with Hebrews chapter 2 that it speaks about the world to come, because the dominion of the fish of the sea or the birds of the air is not given to man yet. We are still subjected to bondage. We are creatures of vanity, and it is in Mashiach that we will reign forever and ever. Alright, that is the promise. Alright. So the two words that I want to focus on in Genesis chapter 1:26 is the word salam, which means image, and the word salam is Strong's H6754. The word salam has the root words sal, which is H738, which means shadow, sula H6683, which means depth, as in the oceans, sala H6763, which means rib. Remember, Elohim put Adam to sleep and he removed his rib and he made Chawwa, the mother of all living, and he said, this is now flesh of my flesh and bone of my bones. So the same thing, if Adam was the type of him who was to come, as we read in Romans chapter 7 verse 14, Elohim put Yahusha to sleep in the depth of sleep, alright, on the stake, and out of his womb, out of his side, when they pierced his side, water and blood gushed forth. Water and blood are the elements of the womb, and the assembly was born, the elect, alright, flesh of his flesh and bones of his bones. Ephesians chapter 5, which speaks about the great mystery, alright, of Mashiach and his bride, that is the assembly. It speaks about us being of his flesh and of his bones. Alright, so see the depth of it. So when Elohim said, the other word for likeness is Damuth, which we already saw, which is H1823, Damuth, which has the blood. Dam means blood and Muth means death. So we were confirmed into the blood sacrifice and the death of Mashiach. See how deep Elohim's word is. So on the surface level, it may just look image and likeness. But when you look at the beautiful language and the words and all the root words in it, you see that man was created to be the shadow, alright, of Mashiach. Adam was a type or shadow, which is Sal, and to be come out, and he came out of his depths. So we have come out of his depths, of his flesh and of his bones, as deep as an ocean. And of course, in Mashiach there is the depth of knowledge and the wisdom of Elohim. Alright, there's still so much to dig through and to find out in those deep waters what is kept for us, what is in store for us. So that's the picture here. Sala, the rib, Chawwa, we came out of his side. He was pierced and water and blood flowed from his side. And Sum, which is fast. So this fast is like, remember that, Mashiach said in one of the scriptures for the daughters of Jerusalem, he said, daughters of Jerusalem, do not weep for me, but weep for yourselves and for your children. Alright? He says, why did he say that? Because he knew that, that travailing in birth pangs, that the daughters of Jerusalem, the daughter of Jerusalem will be travailing in birth pangs, and they will understand and realize whom they have pierced, whom they have wounded, alright, and they will mourn for him as his only son. And Zechariah chapter 12, speaks where Yahweh himself says that they shall look upon me whom they have pierced, and they shall mourn for me as one mourns for his only son. So that is what is the picture over here. So the fast of Yahusha, alright, that is the fast. And this reminds me of one more scriptures where the Pharisees accused Yahusha, saying that your disciples never fast. The disciples of Yahukanan the Baptist, they fast, but your disciples never fast. So Yahusha says that as long as the bridegroom is with them, all right, they will not fast. But one day when the bridegroom will be taken away from them, then they will fast. It does not mean about abstinence from food, but the fast of Rakam, Yahusha, Alahenu Rakam. When are you going to come? When are you going to deliver us from this womb of suffering? So that is the fast. The humbling ourselves before Yahuwah, acknowledging and realizing our lowly state, our state of vanity. So what a beautiful picture, this is coming out to be. All right. So when when Elohim Yahuwah said, "Let us make man in our own image," all right. This shows Elohim's perspective of making the natural man to be into his image, who is Mashiach, the natural man to be his shadow, the natural man to be in his depths, to be taken out from his rib and to be in his fast. What a beautiful picture. According to our likeness, alright? According to our likeness, shows that Elohim wanted us to be in his likeness of his blood and of his death. Hallelujah. Romans chapter 6 verses 3. Or do you not know that many of us as were immersed into Mashiach Yahusha were immersed into his death? The word Damut shows us exactly that. And no wonder, it says, it's used plural over there in Genesis 1:26. Let us make man in our salam and our damut. So Elohim is in Mashiach. So in Mashiach you have access to Elohim. Without Yahusha you cannot have access to Elohim. Let's continue in the next part.